Hey folks, welcome to Grab a Stack of Rock. It's blurry Mike because my camera has trouble focusing. We have a very special episode for you tonight, a seasonal episode. We are doing our top 5 Marillion Christmas songs with some very special guests. Now, Harrison, the Mad Metal Man, could not be with us tonight. So instead, we've brought in someone else from the continent down under. We have Mr. Bicyclegs representing Australia this evening. How are you tonight, sir?
Hello, good. Wonderful to be here and make my debut on Grab a Stack of Rock.
Speaking of making their debut on Grab a Stack of Rock, I think this man needs no introduction whatsoever. All the way from New York, it's Mr. Davy Creighton.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Mike.
How are you doing, Davy?
Excellent. I'm in the Christmas spirit. Boom, boom, boom. Hello, Bicyclegs.
So nice to see you guys.
Hey, Davey.
And finally, last but certainly not without least, the pressure, folks. It's the pressure. This man has been on Grab a Stack of Rock before doing Marillion. In fact, we did I think it was a top 11. I think we did a full top 11, or did we rank them all? I don't know. Here he is, though. It's Todd Evans.
Hello. I am 100% without least. And I think that we ranked them all.
We ranked them all. We went serious.
Yeah.
Well, tonight's
it's
going
nice
to be
to
a
see
little bit
everyone.
lighter. Yes, so nice to meet you guys face to face, and of course have Todd back. And we're all dressed seasonally somewhat. But we want to do this. Unfortunately, we are pressed for time. We want to try to do this in an hour. So we're going to do our top 5 Marillion Christmas songs. And I thought I had a lot of these. I have 19 of these. Turns out Bicyclegs has 26 of these.
That's all of them so far, not including this year's 2024 release, because I always tend to get that after Christmas because it's got to come from the UK. So,
and there's a postal strike here in Canada, so I couldn't get it right now if I wanted to, and I would want to. But anyway, we have a treasure trove of music here to choose from. We're not going to be too strict on the rules. We're just going to say top 5 seasonal songs that Marillion have recorded, released, whatever. And we're going to have some fun. So, Mr. Bicyclegs, you appear to be in the first slot. And since you are a first timer, you may as well go first. Now, just because it's number 5 doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's number 5.
Well, that's the thing. There's a lot to choose from with Marillion, with Christmas songs. There's this one here is like this is the one that they put out with the web. This is an extended collection of recycled gifts. And there's 14 tracks on this. And that's not all of them, not by any stretch of the imagination. So there's a lot to choose from. And if depending on whether we have time or not, I even have a couple of honorable mentions. So, but my number 5 is going to be from this little one here, Putting on the Ritz, which is from 2008. And the track I'm going to go for on this one is Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, because I think they just do a really beautiful, straight version of it. You know, do it in the style of a piano ballad. Steve Hogarth sings it beautifully. And I don't know whether it's Steve or Mike on the ivories, but they're doing beautiful, beautiful piano playing on it. So yeah, that's going to be my number 5 is the Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas from Putting on the Ritz.
Lovely, lovely pick. So we're off to a great start, Mr. Creighton. This is also your first time. What is your first pick for your first appearance?
My first pick, coming in at number 5, is a cover of a John Lennon Christmas song, Happy Christmas, War is Over. A version without Yoko Ono, sign me up. No, I'm just kidding. Don't take me seriously. It's just a joke. But they do, I have in my notes, just like Bicyclegs just said, a straight take on this John Lennon holiday chestnut. It's a very pleasing melody, and it fits Hogarth's voice perfectly. So I really like this version. That is my number 5. I don't have much to say about it. it's a good version. I like the original version, very melodic, very catchy. Kudos to John Lennon and kudos to Marillion for doing a great job. That's my number 5. Happy Christmas. War is over. We could only wish.
Yeah, well said. And can you believe that this guy's a first timer? What a pro!
Thank you.
Mr. Evans. Can you actually, before you say your pick, can you show us your shirt?
Oh, yeah.
I find your lack of cheer disturbing. I love it. All right.
I have
Todd.
another one with all the Peanuts gang on it, like the extended family, but I couldn't find it. I think it got lost in the move. So I wore this one last year on a show. But my number 5 is the same as Davies. It's Happy Christmas, War's Over. And I think you guys with all of the Marillion Christmas CDs I think that one was made for this. Am I correct? Because it's from 2014. And does it appear on a different one? Because when you look at the liner notes for this, it just says Christmas 2014. So I wasn't sure about that. But
I think that might have been a download only track prior to that.
I think so too. Yeah. So I picked this one for a couple of reasons. I don't think that there is ever a bad version of this song. If somebody knows of one, maybe put it in the comments or in the chat. But I've never heard a bad version of this song. I think that this is the second best version of Happy Christmas, War is Over. Well, the second best cover version. I think the first one is the Moody Blues from 2002, I think. But this one is really, really close to it. Again, like Davey said, a straight take on it with a choir of people of all different ages. And this was my mom's favorite Christmas song. So there's a special place for it in my heart. And so that's my number 5.
Man, there's some good picks already. And I kind of feel out of place here because you guys picked some really serious, there's some emotion going on with some of these tracks. And I went with a goofy one as my first one. I just have to find my copy of Somewhere Elf. There it is. Somewhere Elf. And this one's from 2007. And I went with Let It Snow. And, contrary to your beautiful renditions that you guys all picked, this is a goofy one. So it has a guitar solo segue into White Christmas by Steve Rothery. So in a way, it's kind of 2 songs in one. But there are comical new lyrics such as the Aylesbury roads are closed, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. But my favorite new lyric on this track is found some booze in a flight case and I'm afraid that we're all shit-faced. And, a large part of it's performed on the kazoo. I have put this on Christmas mix CDs for family members before, but they don't get the jokes. They don't know where Aylesbury is. But I do want to point out this wonderful photograph on the inside with them kind of dressed up as the, Sinatra and the gang there. And
that's fantastic.
They put so much effort into the packaging of these Christmas releases. By the way, these are all fan club releases generally that we're going to be showing you. They put a lot of effort into them and they're well worth signing up for. So that is round 1. Mr. Bicyclegs, it is time for your number 4 pick.
Oh, right. Well, I'm going to be a bit boring here because my number 4 pick is also going to come from Putting on the Ritz. Because there's some really good Christmas stuff on this album. I think you were talking about this in our offline chat, Mike, that, there's more Christmas stuff on here than you remembered on this particular CD. And the one I'm going to go for on this time is Little Saint Nick. Because I was expecting, when I first heard this, I was expecting, the Beach Boys, Little Saint Nick. And that's not what you get.
Christmas comes this time each year. No kidding.
Yeah. You get this sort of 6-minute, it goes in through different sections and stuff, and it's just a really lot of fun, and it sounds very Marillion-y, especially that sort of late 2000s Marillion. Because what you also get on this disc, apart from like a bunch of Christmas stuff, is you get some of the jams that they recorded during the Happiness is the Road sessions. Underrated albums, Happiness is the Road. But Yeah, I really love this Little Saint Nick because it's just, it's 6 minutes. It goes through a bunch of different sections. The playing is, they might be a bit silly as far as the lyrics and stuff go, but music on that particular track. So
Yeah, and they sort of base that around the "Happiness Is the Road" song "Thunderfly." It's sort of got the same feel as that song, and a couple of lyrics are sort of
yeah, it does
similar.
too. I hadn't
Yeah.
thought of that, but you're right.
But that's my number 6. That's my bubbling under. I like that one because it sounds like a real Marillion song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And what Todd just said about how it reminds him of "Happiness Is the Road" reminds me that Bicyclegs and I have to do the second half of the Marillion discography in the new year, and I've got to start listening to some of those albums in more depth. And in answer to Henry, yeah, that's the hometown of the original lineup, and I believe they're still based out of Aylesbury, if I'm not mistaken. That's where all my mail comes from when I order
That's
from them.
where the
Comes from
Racket Club
Aylesbury.
is, I think.
Yeah.
Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah.
I believe you're correct.
You are correct, Todd. And Pete Truavis is from Aylesbury. That's how Fish used to introduce him, or Fesh, as we should say with the Scottish accent. Fesh would introduce him at the live shows from Aylesbury on the bass guitar, Pete Truavis. So I was going to tell that to Henry. And Little Saint Nick is on my bubbling under, on my honorable mention. So more on that later. But my number 4 was already mentioned by Mr. Mike Ladano from Canada. You stole my thunder. But here it is, 2.5 minutes long, Let It Snow. And Hogarth is in total crooner mode here. And I'm surprised he doesn't throw in a shooby-doo right into the song there like Sinatra. And Hogarth keeps it loose by personalizing the song I had in my notes, throwing in band references like the Racket Club in Aylesbury, in the studio, the Racket Club. That's where they've been making music for decades now. At about a minute in, I wrote down they break into "I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas." And then H drops that S-bomb, mentioning that the band were bleep-faced. It's a fun little ditty, and it's just in crooner mode, and I've been in crooner mode. Hello, pussycat. Bicyclegs, what's your kitty's name?
This is Grace.
Hi, Grace. Grace distracted me. Sorry. So I've been in this crooner type mode recently, doing my Sinatra and Sammy Davis all over to our contrarian friends on Facebook Messenger, as some of the people here know about that. So Let It Snow is my number 4 because it fits in well with the season and Sinatra and Sammy.
Absolutely wonderful. And yeah, the S-bomb. All right.
I didn't think you were going to say it, but you did. So.
Yeah, you know what? I frequently lose control of my vocabulary when I'm live, so I've just stopped caring. Unless I'm on someone else's show, in which case I try to. Anyway, Todd, number 4 for you, sir.
My number 4, I'm going to stick with another serious one. I have a fun one coming later, but my number 4 is Gabriel's Message from the Marillion Christmas CD from 1999. This is such a beautiful song, and it seems to be just perfectly made for Steve Hogarth's vocals. And it reminds me also that there is another very good version of this by Sting. I think Sting has a couple of versions of it, but yeah, this is a beautiful track, and they do a lovely job of playing it, and the arrangement is unusual. The arrangement has some electronic noise sort of in the percussion that kind of goes along with it, that kind of makes it sound a little bit experimental, which I always thought was cool. And so yeah, that's my number 4 is Gabriel's Message. That's always been a favorite.
And I guess the electronics would suit the period, which was the Marillion.com era.
Yeah.
They were really kind of going into experimental directions. Cool. Well, I went goofy with my number 4. Go ahead, Davey.
Just to add one thing, sorry. Todd, I think you're right. He recorded the first version originally in the 80s for one of those very special Christmas albums.
Yeah, and then there's a version on his Winter's Night
Classical
album. Yeah,
Wasn't that on the Deutsche Grammophon label?
it was.
Yeah, so he did do two versions. I
Yeah,
thought so.
I think
Good
so.
call.
Yeah, I think that's right.
All right. And thanks for tuning in, Grant, and everyone else. Really appreciate it.
Mexican
Grant
food,
is in
some of
the-
my
yeah.
favorite.
We just had some really nice spicy chicken tonight, but we don't need to talk about food. We need to talk about rock. And I went goofy again on my number 4. And Santa and his Elvis, I think that's clever. And I'm a sucker for the whole Elvis impersonator thing. I've always been a sucker for it ever since I was a kid. And they cover Lonely This Christmas on this. But what I really like about it, it's not so much the Elvis part, but it's the last 42 seconds of it where they kind of go Sex Pistols and it sounds like Steve's doing his best Johnny Rotten. That's what I'm the sucker for. It's a wonderful coda. You don't expect music like this from Marillion. Then again, you don't really expect the Elvis-y side of it either from Marillion. And Hogarth kind of hams it up. It's hard to resist hamming it up when you're doing an Elvis version, but I really do like that punky, the last 42 seconds, the punky 42 seconds, that's why it's number 4 right there. Anyway, that's Santa and his Elvis. So Bicyclegs, are you going to pick a different album this time?
I am. Yes.
Okay.
I am going to go for, and my number 3 is going to be something from the 2013 Christmas CD, which is called Progging Around the Christmas Tree, which is interesting. I think it's interesting to see that Marillion by 2013 were re-embracing the word prog, because in the early 2000s, they were very much distancing themselves from that whole idea of prog and that sort of thing. So interesting. But the song I'm going to go for on this is The Carol of the Bells, which I think they do a fabulous version of. You can see it on the back there, I think. Carol of the Bells. It's the 3rd track on there. And there we go. And yeah, I mean, I love the Carol of the Bells anyway. This is my, talking about second favorites, this is probably my second favorite version of the Carol of the Bells. And I think Todd will know my favorite version because it's the instrumental one by the Prog World Orchestra.
Oh,
Neil
yeah.
Morse.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that version with all the clavinet and that sort of thing. But no, the Marillion version's really good. It's a vocal version. Steve Hogarth again singing absolutely beautifully. And they put the music together so well, you know, because Carol of the Bells has that real sort of round kind of feeling to it, you know. I love it. So I had to pick that because I think they do an especially good version of it. So yeah, that's my number 3, The Carol of the Bells from 2013.
I must have that on one of these because I know I've heard it.
Yeah, I
Carol
bought
of the
that.
Bells.
I think it's on the extended. Yeah,
it's on.
I bought that
as
a
both.
download. Yeah, they hyped a download that year that it came out, and they sold it on iTunes and everywhere. So yeah, that's how I got it.
Yeah,
And
I think there might
realize,
even be a video for it that you can
There
find
is
on YouTube.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that they released the Christmas CD that year. So my collection is maybe not as up to date as I thought it was. Oh, my OCD is kicking in. But Mr. Davy Cretan, you're going to soothe my OCD with a killer number 3 pick.
Yes, because no one's mentioned this so far. And more on Bicyclegs pick later. Dun, dun, dun. Number 3, another cover, and I wrote down it's a straight cover this time, of a Greg Lake Christmas classic. I Believe in Father Christmas is my number 3. And at the beginning of the song, Mark Kelly on the keyboards, very low in the mix, sneaks in a snippet of Marillion's own first Christmas song, you could say from 1989, Season's End. He plays a little bit of it on the keyboards. Very cool. I like the guitar work on this version by Steve Rothery, a great underrated guitar player. Love his work. He's in the David Gilmour mode where less is more, to quote the title of a Marillion album, but we won't go there right now. But his rhythm playing is great. His lead playing is so melodic and catchy. And I like his solo on this song as well. So my number 3, I believe in Father Christmas.
Okay, so this is one that you and I were talking about yesterday. Bicyclegs, do you know which Christmas CD that's on? Because Davey and I were discussing this.
It is the most recent one, if the memory serves me correctly.
Oh.
Yes, it's this one here. So
Okay.
that's the 2023 one. They couldn't come up with a clever title for this one. It's just called Web Christmas 2023. So I don't know.
Nice cover.
Maybe
though.
they just, yeah, it's a beautiful cover. But
All right.
yeah.
So I do have catching up to do in my collection, which is I feel shame right now.
Well,
to be wearing
just so
this
you know,
shirt.
Mike, some of those more recent ones, you
Yeah.
can get them on Marillion.com, I think, for about £5 each or something like that.
Okay, so
So
no need to go discogs
worth checking
for
out the
everything.
Marillion.com CDs. Not for some of the earlier stuff you might have to, but
Right.
some of the more recent stuff you should be able to get on Marillion.com.
Mike, could
Yeah,
I add what I told you, where I found a lot of these songs? Could I mention that?
If it's legal, I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
don't
On
mention like an
Bandcamp.
illegal. Oh, on Bandcamp. Okay, so yeah.
Marillion are on Bandcamp, and they have their revamped version of the Christmas album that you guys are showing.
Yeah, the
It's
extended
16
one of this. Yeah.
That's it. And it's, I think, 16 tracks, and the price in pounds is £7.99, which is probably just a hair under $20 or so in American currency, at least. Probably like
Okay, so
$18.99.
the retail CD is 15 tracks. So what they've done is they've updated it with the 16th. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Todd, number 3 for you.
Okay, well, my number 3 is kind of a silly one, and I thought when we talked about doing the show, I thought it was going to end up as my number 1, but the order got all changed around once I got into listening to these. But I picked as my number 3, "Stop the Cavalry," and "Stop the Cavalry" is a song by a guy named Jonah Louie, who is kind of thought of. I mean, he sort of started his career as kind of a novelty singer, but he's kind of thought of as being kind of new wave too, because in 1980, I think 79 or 80, he signed to Stiff Records, and he's kind of a one-hit wonder. We're a two-hit wonder. This is one of his hits. His other song was called "You'll Always Find Me in the Kitchen at Parties." And I used to have when I was in high school, I had a British import, like a K-Tel record that was called Street Level, 20 Great Hits. And that song was on it. And this is a song that is actually, it's actually a protest song. It's actually an anti-war song. And the artist, Jonah Louie, didn't think of it as a Christmas song, but when the record company heard it, because he says the words, "I wish I was home at Christmas," they added tubular bells to it to make it sound Christmassy. And the Marillion version is very much the same. They did the same thing. And it's just this little, really happy, jaunty little piece that's talking about how I wish I could go home and didn't have to be on the battlefield. And it's always been one of my favorites. And it's always kind of, on this CD, it's always kind of stood out as being one of the liveliest tracks. And so that's my number 3, "Stop the Cavalry."
Yeah. Ashley just pointed out
Ashley's
something I was
right.
going to
Yeah,
point
there
out
is
with
another
that song, Louise. It was huge here in Australia.
Yep.
But I mean, "Stop the Cavalry," it sounds jaunty, but the lyrics are actually a little bit dark. I mean, you
Yes.
know, Mary quietly waits at home in the nuclear fallout zone. You know,
if I survive and get home, I'm gonna run for president so I can get elected and stop the cavalry myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
what
it's
something
a
I love about
wonderful,
this
wonderful
band.
song. And yeah.
That's something I love about this band, how they can mix a certain lyric with a certain mood, and you don't know that they're kind of contradictory.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess spoiler alert, I'm holding up this CD because my number 3 is the Aaron Marbles, which is barely a Christmas song at all. It has a little bit of jingle bells in it, but otherwise this is just a Celtic version, sort of a jig of the Marillion song Marbles, which is often presented as 4 separate parts, but this is the full thing in one track, and it feels drunken fast. It feels it's really fun. I guess when you think about it, marbles are a children's toy. So I guess children's toy, Christmas present, sure, that all works. It's like I said, it's barely a Christmas song, but I love the Aaron Marbles. When I was doing my listening this week, it jumped out. It's very different from a lot of the other songs, even though I've picked 3 Goofy songs in a row. But I mean, the cover art's goofy. They're drunken.
Yeah, I was real fond of that when it came out. I got a real kick out of that cover art.
I love that they have so much fun with this stuff. They're having fun when they do these songs.
Yeah.
And there's probably a little bit of alcohol imbibed when they're recording, and that's fine. So will Mike get serious in the final 2 rounds? Who knows? We are heading into the top 2 though. So Bicyclegs. This is all right. This is it, the nitty-gritty.
We are right into it. Talking about Christmas mixtapes or whatever, I have made over the years 13 different Christmas. Well, I do them on CDs rather than tapes, but I guess you could call them mixtapes. Over 200 Christmas songs, and I used to give those out instead of regular Christmas cards. I'd give somebody a CD, and I'd make little artwork, or later on my son would do the artwork because he's much better at like Photoshop and that sort of thing than I am. And it was always fun picking songs. So my top 2 are songs that I have actually picked for some of these mixtapes. And my number 2 comes from 2001's A Very Barry Christmas. I love that artwork because it's upside down, Miss Jane. Yeah. And the song I'm going for is the very first track on this CD. It is I Saw 3 Ships. Now, this one's kind of in between being serious and goofy in a way, because I think they play the song pretty straight, but it's not a very serious song. I Saw 3 Ships, It's got a bit of a children's, I mean, it was always sort of a thing we sang at primary school, and that sort of thing. So it's an easy song to remember for kids because, half of the lyrics are in every verse. So, but they do a great version of it. It's got some of that lovely sort of atmospheric guitar that Steve Rothery would play, and Mike Kelly's joining in with sort of Celeste keyboards, that kind of bell sounds and that sort of thing. It's very festive and just a lot of fun. That's my number 2 is I Saw 3.
Excellent. I know for a fact we'll be talking more about that track. Davey Cretan, how do you top that for your number 2?
I can't, except to say that this song, a little over 4 minutes long, it leapfrog over a bunch of other songs because I find it so upbeat, rocking, joyous, and infectious. It's a feel-good anthem, and it's All I Want for Christmas Is You. You, Mike Ladano. StreamYard, everything is backwards. I'm so confused. I'm used to Zoom. Sorry, I'm pointing this way, it's that way. Left is right, up is down. What the heck is going on here? Man,
all Davey wants for Christmas is a different streaming service.
Yes, I'm so confused. But All I Want for Christmas Is You is my number 2.
I like that one too. I was surprised at how straight they do it. It's just not they have a little bit of fun with it, but it's mostly a pretty faithful version of that.
And you get the mellow 30 or
it's
40
funny.
seconds, and then it kicks in.
Yeah.
It's funny. I always thought I hated that song, but it turns out I really only hate the Mariah Carey version of that song.
It's really not the song's fault.
I do on one of my Christmas CDs that I've made over the years, I actually do have a version of that song on there, but it's not the Marillion version. It's actually a version by the British band Level 42. And they do a really good version of it, with Mark King and his slap bass and all that sort of thing. And they funk it right up. It's great. So definitely go check that out if you ever want to, I'm sure it's on YouTube or whatever. level 42 version of All I Want for Christmas Is You. But yeah, the Marillion version's really good too. So can't argue with that.
All right.
Thanks.
I forgot to mention, Bicyclegs. What would you do if I told you that I used to make Christmas mix CDs every single year, in place of Christmas cards, and I would like drop them into coworkers' file folders at work? And yeah, Marillion made a number of those. And I would also throw on like Mistress for Christmas by AC/DC, but you know,
Good one.
Yeah.
What's that Spinal Tap Christmas with the Devil? That was always a favorite of mine.
I didn't
Yes,
put that on.
that's on one of mine.
Brilliant. All right, Todd, your number 2.
My number 2 was mentioned already by Davey, and I don't really have much to add to what he said, but I Believe in Father Christmas. Again, I don't think there was anything you could do to this song to make it not the beautiful thing that it is. And I absolutely love the Marillion version. I love Steve Rothery's guitar solo. So classy and understated and just brilliant. I love this version.
Well said. All right. Well, Mr. Cretin, I think we're on the same wavelength, my friend. I think we're on the same vibe. I think we're riding in the same sleigh, because my number 2 is a little track called All I Want for Christmas Is You. And on this thing, it says Christmas 2020. So I'm not sure the exact title of that album, but this is what I wrote. You don't hear Marillion just rock out gleefully like this very often. For context, Christmas 2020 was the first of the pandemic. I remember sitting and eating turkey dinner in a room separate from my parents without my sister present, because we were only allowed 5 people at a time. It was a terribly depressing night in hindsight. And we needed Christmas songs like this. Rothers lays down a really great rock and roll solo that it wouldn't sound out of place on any hard rock band's album. So it's a little bit different from Marillion. You know, you don't hear them just have fun rocking like this on their standard album tracks. You know, that's not what they generally go for. And I love it. I didn't even think of Mariah Carey, to be honest with you. For context, I spent 12 years of my life working behind the cash register at a record store, so I'm certain we played that Mariah Carey Christmas album. I'm certain we did, but I have no memory of it whatsoever. So
yeah, I
take
can't
that as you
speak.
will.
It's just called Christmas 2020, so obviously their creativity was failing them a little bit that year too. So
yeah,
but we can cut them some slack considering it was 2020. But
I was going to say,
it's a good version.
I can't speak for Canada and Australia, but here in the States, it's almost an industry of its own, hating the Mariah Carey version, to the point where it's kind of gone a little overboard. So here, everyone thinks of Mariah Carey when they think of that song. But I imagine in other places, there are not quite so many negative connotations to it.
And
I've seen the
Marillion's version is much better, much better.
Yes.
You know, I would never say anything bad about Mariah Carey's voice, obviously, and you'd be foolish to do that. But Hogarth's voice is just more my style. That's all there is to it, you know,
for sure.
And that's certainly not a diss to the queen of pop. You know, she's total respect, total respect. Wait a second though, Peter Kerr made this. Oh, Peter Kerr.
Well, Peter, to be fair, we're not fans. We're just trying to be nice because it's the holidays.
No, Davey has not broken into song yet, although the night is still young. You know, we're way ahead of schedule.
There's
so
still
it could still
time.
happen. And a very special Christmas albums. Yeah, I had the first 2, the red and the green. Bon Jovi did a couple good Christmas songs.
There were 5 of them at least.
There were,
They were huge sellers in the retail music business.
I remember
Last
liking
year
the Eurythmics song. I don't remember which song it is though, but I remember liking it.
It's Winter Wonderland.
Yeah.
See, Todd, what I did is I would just record the songs on the compilation that I liked and then not listen to the compilation and just listen to like the Bon Jovi tracks. So I don't even know what's on them. But last year, and I can't remember who was guesting with us. I think Johnny Klauser, John the Music Nut, and Metal Roger might have been the guests. I can't remember if Peter Kerr was there or not. But I did do top 5 Christmas songs of all time. So a lot of those tracks we did cover on last year's show, and that was so much fun. Peter, forgive me, I can't remember if you were on that show or not. Anyway, this is it. This is the last round. Number 1, Bicycle
Number
Legs.
1.
Yeah.
All right. My number
Considering
1
your
has
last
already
pick was
been
so
mentioned.
epic.
Yeah. My number 1 has already been mentioned, but not the version that I'm going to pick. Because there are a couple of versions that Marillion have done of this song. The song, oh, there you go. Peter was on that show, so there you go. My number 1, and the very first Marillion Christmas song I probably ever heard, was Gabriel's Message. But it's not the original studio recording that I have. This is from Say Cheese, Christmas with Marillion from 2003. And this is a live version that they did. I'm just having a look here. Gabriel's Message it's from the Christmas at the Chapel DVD. So the live version for me is the definitive version of Marillion's Gabriel's Message. Absolutely love it. Steve Hogarth's vocal is just sublime. Steve Rothery does these wonderful chiming guitars. You know, that really, you know how he does that in some Marillion songs? He has these little guitar parts that really sound like almost like bells. They're chiming. And then Mark Kelly is just coming in with these choir sounds on his synthesizer. And it's just absolutely brilliant. So yeah, the live version of Gabriel's Message is probably by a bit of a distance my favorite Marillion Christmas song. So yeah, there you have it.
Awesome pick. And yeah, I listened to as much of these as I could this week, and that one, I did like that live version too. Excellent. We do have time for discussion if anybody wants to compliment Bicycle Legs on his pick before I go to Davey.
No, that is an excellent. That live version is an excellent version of that song. I really enjoy that a lot too. That whole CD, that Say Cheese CD, I really enjoy.
Yeah. It should be mentioned that a lot of these, well, all of these discs have additional material, non-seasonal material that's worth having, like live stuff, remixes. Most of them, if not all, have special messages from the band. I was listening to one today where they apologized for the previous year's drunken Christmas message. I love stuff like, and you know, the Beatles used to do that. Yeah, and like, you know, the Beatles used to do that. They'd be like, "Oh, this is John, and I'd like to wish you a very Merry Christmas," you know. So it's really cool to have these, and I'm grateful for the ones that I do have. I'm jealous for Bicycle Legs ones that I don't have. But Davey did his research on Bandcamp. So what do you have for your number 1 Marillion Christmas song?
Well, first of all, a couple of fast things. Mike, thanks for letting me on, because I have no CDs to show. So I appreciate being allowed to come on the air without any CDs. I mean, I do own CDs. I still have my IQ CDs from when Todd and Bicycle Legs and I just ranked all the IQ studio records for all you prog fans on my channel, Cretan Classics. So I do have CDs. I just don't have any of the Marillion Christmas ones, unfortunately, much to my chagrin. And like you were saying, the Beatles with their Christmas releases way back in 50, 60 years ago, Mike, actually 60 years ago. Oh my goodness gracious, long time ago. They would put out a Christmas song and a Christmas message to all their fans, and they've been compiled on bootlegs, but I don't think they've ever been officially released. So Marillion are stealing from the best, because as I used to tell customers at the record store, Mike, people would come in and say, "Oh, I don't like the Beatles. Oh, the Beatles suck. I can't listen to the Beatles." And I would say to them, "Look, if it wasn't for the Beatles, you and I would not be speaking right now, because the Beatles built the music industry. At least the present, the modern.
This space would be a shoe store, right?"
So I would say that to people all the time. But moving on to my number 1 song here, It was mentioned earlier by the great Mr. Bicyclegs from down under in Australia. Carol of the Bells. At over 6 minutes, I wrote down it's a true proggy Xmas mini epic. Everyone shines here, especially, of course, on guitar, Steve Rothery. His guitar solo, Ian Mosley on drums. Nobody's mentioned him. The great Ian Mosley. He gets to play here. It's melodic, masterful, dramatic, perfect for Marillion, their version. And I just got through that without mentioning Savatage or Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Oops, darn it, I mentioned them. Curses, but Marillion's version is great too. It's a vocal version, so you must listen to it. The Carol of the Bells by Marillion, my number one Christmas Marillion song.
Go ahead.
Excellent choice. Just wanted to quickly say to Ashley from that last comment, if the Stones did Christmas CDs, it wouldn't surprise me because they tended to copy everything the Beatles did anyway.
You're here all week.
And to comment on Davey's comment about them not being released on CD, they did do one Christmas track on the B-side to, I think it was Free as a Bird. Was that the very first song from the anthologies?
Yes.
They did a Christmas Time Is Here Again, and I think it was compiled. Like it's not an original Beatles release. It is mixed differently somehow. I've never heard the original material, but it's a song with a little bit of the Christmas messages mixed in there. Hi, this is Paul. Don't get wet this Christmas.
It's
that kind of thing.
I feel like I've heard that before.
Yes. The song Christmas Time Is Here Again was from their 1967 Christmas record, but then they put in a few like Christmas messages from earlier Christmas releases, and then there's a little bit at the end where there's one of the skits from, because they used to do skits on some of those 60s Beatles Christmas releases as well. So it's a bit of a melange of things from various Christmas discs. Yeah.
The expert, ladies and gentlemen, the expert right here. Wow. Okay. Todd, are you ready for your number
I'm
one?
ready. Yeah. And before
Okay.
I reveal my pick, I wanted to say also, we were talking about other bands that did a similar thing. REM's fan club, they did a holiday release every year. And it was usually it started out as 45s, like in the 90s. And then it kind of morphed into like CD singles. So it would be like a Christmas song and maybe another track or another 2 tracks to add to it. But I still have a few of those. So yeah, it was done in a very kind of a similar way than Marillion did. Marillion is really the one though that actually gives you something that kind of resembles an album, like, you know, at least 30 or 40 minutes of tracks. But to my number one is also the Carol of the Bells. I think that it is the most epic sounding. That song being in 3/4 and kind of a mix between 3/4 and I think there's some 6/8 in there too, really lends itself well to metal and prog and those kinds of interpretations, like symphonic metal and stuff like that. And that was the word I was searching for. And so I think that Carol of the Bells is Marillion's most complete sounding Christmas song. I think it's got the most it's got the most happening in it. I think it's the most aggressively played and the thickest arrangement. And then it goes into that part at the end where it kind of goes into the James Bond theme. And there's just so much happening in it, and it's an exciting listen. Definitely, I think the proggiest of all of their Christmas songs, and so for that, I gave it number one.
Good call on the James Bond theme. I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
So,
and there are times when I think it doesn't need it, and then I'll think, no, it is kind of cool that it's in there.
So, just a question for the panel: Carol of the Bells. Would you recommend that to that person out there who likes this kind of music, maybe hasn't heard Christmas music that they like? Would you say, listen, is that unanimous, Carol of the Bells? Is that the one you direct them to?
Yeah, it would be for me. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, all three of us have picked it in our top 3. So,
right.
it's hard to argue. I think consensus-wise, it's the best. Marillion song, even though I didn't rank it as my number one. I think if we did it as a poll, it's the one that comes out on top between us. So,
Yeah, I think so.
So this makes me feel a little awkward because I'm the only one who didn't pick Carol of the Bells.
Womp, womp, womp.
But I hope you approve of my number one. I think it was your number two. But I went with from a very berry Christmas. Where'd I put my copy of it? There it is. From a very berry Christmas, I saw Three Ships. And it took me by surprise because I'd never heard the song before. I think it's a more of a UK thing. I saw Three Ships. I'd never heard it growing up in Canada. So it took a little bit for me to get used to. I was kind of expecting like an actual Christmas Carol when I ordered the package, the membership for the CD and everything. I kind of expected a song I'd know. So it took a little bit. Apparently it was written in the 1600s. It was first publication of it is from the 1600s. But as you guys said, it has that kind of childlike, kind of almost like a lullaby. Like I'm sure I've heard that melody before I've heard this track. And I love it. I love Hogarth's delivery on it. It's very delicate. I love how it kind of segues into Season's End, into Easter, with that nice little keyboard melody from Mark. But most importantly, it makes the hair on my arm stand up. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of songs necessarily do that, but over the years, this is one of the songs that has made my arm hair stand up. And therefore, I have included I Saw Three Ships on a number of my Christmas CDs in the past. So yeah, that's my number one. We have a little bit of time left. I may as well just...
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you go ahead.
I was going to say I wanted to answer Ashley's question about the cartoon character on the cover. That's right. The image that's on the front of their album that came out that year called Anarachnophobia, and they named him Barry, and so that's why that's called "It's a Very Berry Christmas."
And there's numerous renditions of Barry across EPs and singles and all kinds of stuff. So check out some of that artwork.
He does look like Kenny.
He does look like Kenny. And I guess he's kind of designed to sort of represent the Marillion fan, I think was the idea. Wonder what will be the number one song in the Easter Marillion show. I don't know. I hadn't planned on doing an Easter Marillion show, but if you want me to, we can certainly regroup.
It might be a short list.
Yeah. I just wanted to also bring up my favorite Marillion Christmas album, which really, it doesn't really have any Christmas music on.
That's fantastic.
This is a live acoustic album that they recorded literally in a brewery. And it has I think it had number one on it, if I'm not mistaken. The first performance of number one, is that? Yeah, it does, which hadn't been released yet. And they had a cello player, Stephanie Sobey Jones, on some tracks. It's really wonderful. There's an extended version in DVD form and in download form, but this is the original Christmas CD. And as a physical product fan, this is my favorite. Yeah. So that's all I really wanted to add.
It's absolutely great. And if you can find it, the DVD is well worth finding too.
Absolutely. They've got more Xmas albums than studio albums. That might be true.
Yeah. Well, it is. Because there's 26 of these, and there's a 27th coming out this year, and I think there's only 20 studio albums. So
there you go. They started doing this in 1998. I've got all my CDs mixed up, but here's the very first one from 1998.
Didn't have a cover. It was just printed on. It was just given out in a clear sleeve.
That's right. So I printed my own.
Yeah,
I just downloaded that image from the website.
That's pretty good.
Printed it. Yeah. I was kind of like OCD about stuff like that. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the original just came with that on the back, like just a track listing. So
my copy didn't come with that.
Oh, okay.
I only got the CD when I bought it years later off eBay.
Yeah.
But that's cool.
Do we have any time for honorable mentions, Mike?
Was just going to say, let's do some honorable mentions.
All
May
right.
as well start with
I've got-
Bicycle Legs.
I've got three. One of which has already been mentioned, and that is "Stop the Cavalry," because I absolutely love that song too, and I think Marillion do a great version of it, and it just tickled me that they would do that particular song because I love it to death, and I love Jonah Louie. I think he's only done the 2 studio. Oh, he might have done much later. He might have done, but in the 80s, I think he only did 2 studio albums, and I've got them both, and they're wonderful. I also had the Christmas song from Progging Around the Christmas Tree 2013, because it was a toss-up for me between that and Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, because I wanted to have one of their lovely sort of piano ballad Christmas songs. And those are the two that were really I was choosing from. So I had the Christmas song in my list originally. And then when I heard Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, when I was reviewing for this, I was like, yeah, no, I've got to have that one instead. So but they're both really good if you like that sort of, loungy piano ballad kind of sound. Absolutely lovely. And then the last one's a bit of a cheat, but I don't care. And that is A Child's Christmas in Wales, which is not really a song. It's more Steve Hogarth reciting this Dylan Thomas piece. And the band just sort of playing atmospheric music in the background, but their music is absolutely lovely. And
yeah,
if you
it's
want
really well done. Yeah.
And if you want proggy, the whole thing goes for about 24 minutes, so it's an epic. So definitely worth having a listen to if you get a chance. It's on the extended Recycled Gifts CD, and that'll be on the Bandcamp one as well, I would assume. Definitely worth checking out. It's lovely. I think Steve Hogarth's narration is absolutely beautiful, and the music that the guys come up with in the background for it is just lovely. It's really, really lovely. So yeah, those are my honorable mentions. So there you go.
I have four honorable mentions. I'll go through.
Let's hear them, Davey.
The first one, Mike, was your number one. I Saw Three Ships at 4.5 minutes. I know this song when John Anderson released his Christmas album in 1985. I always thought this was a John Anderson Christmas penned song, but it's not. Like you said, it goes way back, and it wasn't even a hit here. I don't remember hearing that song around Christmas time until John Anderson's record came out in 1985, featuring guitar work by the one and only Mr. Trevor Rabin. So I like Steve Rothery's guitar work on here. And at the end, for a second, Rothery's guitar work, to me, it echoes Pink Floyd's Echoes. Just for a brief second, right before the end of the song, I'm like, oh, they're going into Pink Floyd? Oh, they're not going into Echoes. But that's what it reminds me of. Next up, I have, that was mentioned already, Little Saint Nick at 6 minutes. I think it does remind me a little of the Beach Boys. I wrote down it's a rollicking, rocking version of this golden oldie. I dig the chiming keyboards and surf-type beat. And at any moment, I always expected it to break into Cannibal Surf Babe from the Afraid of Sunlight record. But it doesn't. And it seems like they're going to go into it. Oh, they didn't go into it. So it reminds me of Cannibal Surf Babe, which is a cool, very bizarre Marillion song. Up next, the song that Bicyclegs just mentioned, the Christmas song. At 3.5 minutes, it's low-key, jazzy, and Hogarth's vocals on it, aces. And last but not least, I was going to be contrarian at the beginning because I said I was more in a Scroogey type mood. I was thinking, oh, bah humbug Christmas songs. Season's End, that's Marillion's best Christmas song. But after listening to all these Christmas songs for the last bunch of days, a lot of songs leapfrogged over it, but Season's End, because of the lyric, It May Never Snow in England, I always thought it was a Christmas type song in 1989. And when they did it live, because I saw them live on the Season's End tour, Holidays in Eden, Afraid of Sunlight, because they did not tour America for Brave. And whenever they did that song, Hogarth would start it with like a Christmas hymn. So
yeah, he starts it with O Come, Emmanuel. And it's on
That's
several
right.
live albums with that introduction, and I almost picked it for that reason as well.
So that's the last of my honorable mentions. Season's End, title track of the 1989 album. The first one with Hogarth, and an excellent album.
Well, before we wrap up with Todd's runners up, wonderful job, Bicycle Legs, Davey Cretin. You've passed the audition. We'll be happy to have you guys back on in the new year.
Thank you.
Todd, do you have any runners up?
I wanted to say also because Davey mentioned it that I saw the Season's End tour as well, and it came to Atlanta, which is rare for the there a lot of times are 15-20 year gaps between when Marillion comes to the southern United States. And I remember it really vividly because it was the same night as the Paul McCartney concert, and they held it because they had one of the radio stations had a promotion that if you brought, because it didn't sell out, if you brought your Paul McCartney ticket, you could get in to see Marillion. So they held it until like midnight before they started it. And that's always stuck in my head. I've always considered myself really lucky to have been able to see the Season's End tour. But my honorable mentions, really, they've all been said. Little Saint Nick, because it sounds the most like an actual Marillion song. And it has that definitely has that Ian Mosley drum sound that you're used to hearing. And I Saw Three Ships as well. Very, very nearly made my list.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you, Todd. And thank you, Henry. I'm not giving myself a break through the holidays. I've got a full schedule. So, and speaking of which, in the new year, as I hinted earlier, Bicycle Legs and I will be completing our Marillion favorite tracks. Do you have anything else that you can talk about coming up on your channel, Bicycle Legs?
Absolutely. I have my monthly anniversary album show will be coming out later. Well, it'll be tomorrow morning your time in America, in the North America. And I will be having a Christmas show coming out in a couple of weeks' time. I will be picking my top 10 delightfully inappropriate Christmas songs. So that was a lot of fun to pick. I did last year. I did a Christmas show that anybody can go and check out now if they want. I picked my top 10 prog Christmas songs. So that was a lot of fun to do. But yes, this year I'm doing my top 10 delightfully inappropriate Christmas songs. I've ranked them in order of my personal preference, not necessarily in order of inappropriateness. So, yeah. So
you could have gone either way there.
But generally, just come over to the channel. I've got tons and tons of content, so yeah, I'm sure there'll be something there for you to like. And yeah, I mean, we've already done part 1 of our Marillion show with Mike. We did that last month, so come and check that out too if you haven't already.
Excellent. And thank you, Henry. I will be spending lots of time with family and friends. I'll tell you all about it soon. Does anyone know if I know Marillion just released another live thing? What about new studio? Do we know anything?
The last thing I heard was that they were going to be continuing to work on it in 2025 for probably a 2026 release.
Okay,
I think that was the last thing Lucy said. Yeah.
Okay. Kevin Bloody Wilson? I don't know.
Ugh.
And thank you, Peter, for watching. Cretin Classics, I'm going to be collaborating with that fine YouTube channel in the new year. I don't think we want to reveal the topic yet, but did you have anything else coming up that you want to talk about?
Yes, Bicycle Legs and I are recording a show this coming week that hopefully will be out next weekend. We're going to rank our favorite songs of a big, big prog band, but I'm not saying who it is yet. But it's not Yes, that's all I'll say. It's someone else in the top 6, the big pantheon. So prog fans, look for that on Cretin Classics. And I also have to once again give a plug to my buddies Todd and Bicycle Legs, because we did the ranking the albums of IQ, which is one of the biggest videos on my channel. So thank you.
That was so much fun. I never get to talk about them, so I was just thrilled to be able to do that. It was so much fun.
It's doing really well. I'm happy with it. I mean, it's not doing as well as Bicycle Legs had a recent video where he paid tribute to the great Peter Sinfield, lyricist to the Prague Stars, and that's doing really well for his channel. So anyone who doesn't know about Pete Sinfield should check out Bicycle Legs' channel. Really nice video on that. Good job.
Thank you,
Like
Davey.
and subscribe. That
Definitely.
you can see the address right there, and he's Cretan Classics. So just look up Cretan Classics. And Todd, do you have anything coming up with Contrarians or anything else?
No, I actually don't. I have something coming up with Peter. I don't know if on Rock Daydream Nation. I don't know if he wants me to talk about what it is, but that's going to be recorded in the next couple of weeks. And then I'm going to be on Grant's Rock Warehouse. I'm going to be doing the 1987.
Oh yes.
Where the big panel is going to do that. That's after the first of the year. And could 2025 be the year of my own channel? Maybe. We'll have to see.
Okay.
Possibly.
Okay.
Ooh.
IQ, the band with Andy Edwards. Is that correct?
Yes, he was in it
Yes.
for one album. Yeah.
One album.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we
It's
should
been 5
mention,
years.
yeah, and we should mention that that Davies IQ show, Peter Nichols, the lead vocalist of IQ, watched it and made a comment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. I had a recent show about Helix where a guitar player that's currently in Helix watched it and took issue with some of the things that the drummer said. But anyway, speaking
Yeah,
of Mr. Peter Kerr,
Yeah.
Drama.
yeah, a little bit. Speaking of Mr. Peter Kerr, I will not be doing a live show next weekend because I will be recording on Rock Daydream Nation, and I will not reveal the topic except to say it's super fun. I think there's going to be a few guests. I don't think it's going to be just me. I think there's going to be a few other people, and we are going to be picking some songs that we like and some songs that we don't like, and that's all I'm going to say. Instead, on this channel next week, I have not a rerun per se, but I've compiled some little watched short episodes into one longer episode, and we will be running that instead next week while I conspire with Peter Kerr on a really, really fun show on Rock Daydream Nation. So that's what's coming up. And I thank you guys for joining me. Again, wonderful to talk to you face-to-face, Davey, and have Bicyclegs on for the first time. And always a pleasure to have Todd on the show, too. So
Could I just add one thing before we go?
was just going to say, any last words, gentlemen?
Yes. I forgot to mention Tuesday, December 17th, I will be on Grant's Rock Warehouse. We're doing the second show in our Stick series. We're going to be spotlighting the third album, The Serpent is Rising, and the fourth album, Man of Miracles. And coming up on Cretan Classics, Tia, my better half, and I are going to be doing our deep dive into every studio record. We're starting out with a debut from 1982 by The Fix, Shuttered Room.
Ooh,
So look for that
fun.
coming before Christmas.
awesome. Awesome.
And
Well,
that's
thank
it.
you again,
Sorry.
guys. I know I'll be talking to you on Facebook, but this probably I won't be talking to you face-to-face. So happy Christmas. Happy New Year. Can't wait to work with you guys in the future.
Thank you, Mike. Same to you. And to
Thanks.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Thank you so much.
Very Merry Christmas. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for singing, Davey. As you guys know, we always like to go out in a song. So let's play this one. This is River Grand by Maxi Axe featuring drone footage shot by Moa. Have a great weekend, everyone. And tune in next week for my rerun. It'll be fun. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
You sent me a letter telling me how good it goes. You said I'd feel better. That's the way the river flows. Give me time to make a stand. Give me love to be a man. Down the bank the water goes. That's the way the river flows. Cry me a river. Maybe I could forgive her. said